All right. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Mark Schaefer. For those of you who don't know, he's a globally recognized keynote speaker. He's an educator, a business consultant, an author who blogs at Grow. You should check out. It's one of the largest marketing blogs in the world, right? Not only that, I mean, Mark has tons of books, right? He's a pioneer in influencer marketing. We are actually using Known, right? His book. This is the workbook. You guys will get the workbook and the book for the course. And we have the privilege to talk to Mark, have a conversation with him about influencer marketing and all the cool things that's happening in the world. So how are you doing, Mark?
I am great. I've been working on a new book, which you've helped me with. And so I'm really excited about that. But it certainly builds on all the ideas of influencer marketing. It builds on all the ideas behind Known.
Nice. That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. I love the conversation we had. So, when I start to think about influencer marketing, it was about 8 months ago. And then I came across your book, The Content Code. And then we got a chance to connect. And then you introduced me to Known. We had several conversations. And then I know there's one big question that you wanted to answer or try to answer with Known. And then I want to ask you so we can hear you. Can anyone become known, Mark?
Well, that was the big question I was trying to answer. And the result was an answer of maybe. And I say maybe because I certainly believe that the opportunities are there. If you think about, when you were young, when I was young, the internet was just, starting, and, how would we become known? We'd have to be on TV, or we'd have to be in a magazine or a newspaper or something. And that's someone else's choice. Someone else would have to pick us. Today, we can pick ourselves. And I think that's one of the main messages that I'm most proud of with this book, is that there's so many examples of people who started with nothing, who were close to desperation, even poverty, and they figured it out and they became known, and now they're successful and they're taking care of their families. And so it doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter where you live or how much money you have. Everybody has the opportunity to become known. And that is very important. Now, can everybody do it? Will everybody work as hard as it takes to do it? Will everybody be persistent and consistent and not give up? The answer to that is no. Not everybody can do it or will do it. So that's why the answer is maybe. Everyone has the chance, but I'm not sure everyone will follow through.
When I talk to people, and I love hearing that from you, because you constantly frame anyone can do it, but can anyone do it, right? It's almost a rhetoric. And then a lot of people tell me that, Fabio, when you tell me those cases from Nike, from Nokia, it's easy. You have budget, it's a big brand behind, and I keep telling them, it's the same principle.
Yeah.
That applies to yourself. What can you tell someone who has a small business or is just a person to show them that it is possible?
Well, it's not only possible, they have an advantage. And here's the advantage. People don't believe big companies anymore. They don't believe companies. They don't believe advertising. They don't trust brands, but they trust people. Trust in businesses have declined 10 years in a row. But who do we believe? Who do we trust? It's our friends. It's our neighbors. It's entrepreneurs. And if you have a small business, you know your customers. You know your city. You know your community. And people will trust you. When you and I were together, we talked about this idea that marketing today has to be artisanal. And what I mean, it has to be of the local community. People have to see tangible evidence that you are benefiting them and you're benefiting the community. You can't be up in some tower someplace. I think it's extraordinarily hard for big companies and big brands, even if they have budgets and premier advertising agency relationships. And we see this happening, Fabio. We see iconic brands, legacy brands that are 100 years old faltering today because they really don't have that human personality. And I think that's more easily accomplished with small businesses.
So I agree 100%, but the aspect of trust, that it's super important, and because it's coming from you with someone that people trust from that aspect. It's so great to hear from you. So when we talked about trust and people are obsessed with influence, in your point of view, what is really influence?
Well, at the end of the day, influence means you can change a behavior or change an attitude. And that's pretty hard to measure sometimes. But I used to work with this company, Clout. Clout, you might remember, was one of the pioneering companies in trying to measure influence. And so it was very, very controversial because lots of people said, you can't measure my influence. You can't judge how influential I am at home or at school or at work. And that's true. But what Clout was trying to do was pick up cues from the internet to see when people created content or shared content or said something, was their action. And a lot of people found this funny, but they rated the most influential person in the world as Justin Bieber. He was the only person in the world that had a score of 100. They named one of their meeting rooms after Justin Bieber at their Clout headquarters. And so he was really, like, the founder of the company was really criticized for that. But he said, look, when Justin Bieber says something, his fans act. If Justin Bieber says, sign up for this, they sign up for it.
Yeah.
If he says, buy this, go to this movie, try this, they do it without question. He said he has the most influence over his community. And it doesn't have influence over a country or a company or a city. But for his audience, he wielded a tremendous amount of power. So it is contextual. You can be an influential person and only really have power over 6 people. But if those 6 people is Jeff Bezos and chairmen of big companies, you're a pretty influential person. Yeah. It's not really a numbers game. It really can you make things happen.
So every time we talk, Mark, I just, like you said, Jeff Bezos. I almost called you Jeff Bezos now. But every time we talk, I get it's always something new. So how do you think influencer marketing has redefined the discipline of marketing? What's the impact that has caused in our industry, right?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say that, I've been immersed in this world for a long time. I wrote the first book on influencer marketing back in 2012 before anybody even had a name for it. And the reason I wrote the book and made a prediction at the end of the book that it was going to be a mainstream channel within 2 years is because I could see where the trends were going. We have less and less opportunities to show people ads, right? We're going to subscription models. I watch more television than I've ever watched, but I never see ads because it's on Netflix or Amazon. I listen to more radio than I've ever listened to, but I never hear an ad because it's on subscription radio or it's on through my iPod or through Spotify or an audiobook. I subscribe to online newspapers. I see almost no ads. We're inexorably moving toward an ad-free world. And yet, we have companies with big budgets that have to get their messages out, and influence and power has flipped. We just established trust is down in these big companies and these big brands, and the power has risen with people, because if you've got an internet connection and a smart device, you can create content, you can spread your voice in the world, and that's where influence starts, with participating and creating that content. So a lot of people still think this is controversial. They're resisting it, Fabio, and people still roll their eyes. I heard a very, very experienced marketing leader say the other day, so, I mean, this influence marketing, it's a fad. It doesn't work. And if that's your opinion, you're not paying attention. You're really not paying attention. And influence marketing, not only does it work, it's just beginning. And there are lots of case studies out there that show brands are doubling their sales, tripling their sales of, cosmetics and fashion and accessories and sporting goods, because of the trusted advocacy of these heroes and these people that audiences love and trust. And so it's one of the only things that does work in marketing today. Yeah. It's not easy. It's not difficult. It's not necessarily quick, but it does work.
It's not quick, but also there's an element you keep going to trust that I think I just want to point it out is you got to be careful and walk the fine line between sponsoring and bringing a celebrity to do an endorsement for your brand versus building an authentic relationship with your product, with your message. How do you go about that?
Well, I think it really gets down to culture. I was talking to someone the other day. He was the CEO of a company, and he said, I know we need to get into influencer marketing, and and this is a guy, he sells like this luxury brand, multi-million-dollar families would buy this product. He said, yeah, I want to hire some influencers that go out there and, sell more of my stuff. And I said, that's not how it works. It's, these people, they're not, if you need to hire a salesperson, hire a salesperson. That's not influence marketing. You can't pitch an influencer. You need to befriend an influencer. You need to develop a relationship with an influencer. And by comparison, I talked to someone at a Fortune 500 company who works in influence marketing, and she said, at our company, we treat influencers with the same respect as an analyst on Wall Street or as a journalist from the Wall Street Journal. You would not call up a journalist from the Wall Street Journal or an analyst and say, oh, write something that will sell more stuff. Yeah. And so influencers are now starting to be treated with that same kind of respect, and that's the way it should be.
And I mean, we've seen Jay-Z signing with Puma, Kanye West, Virgil Abloh signed with Louis Vuitton, right? So the trends are coming from the street. I have one last question for you, Mark. What is the future?
What is the future? That's a super, super interesting question. Well, I think the future of marketing and influencer marketing is a big part of this, is that right now we are in a place in our world where marketing is lost and it's very sick. And the root cause of that is that we're overwhelmed by technology, or we're obsessed with technology. We overuse technology to do things that we know people hate, like spam them and do robocalls and fill our mailboxes with direct mail clutter. And so other fields are using technology to solve the problems of the universe, extend human life. And in marketing, we use technology to annoy people. And that has to stop. And we have to get back to our roots, which is this idea that marketing is everything human. It's people's, what are their needs, and they need to belong, and they want to be acknowledged, and they want our help. They want our leadership sometimes. They want to know what we stand for. They want to be part of our brands, the research says. And so we need, right now, the tail is wagging the dog, as they say in America. We're trying to sell stuff through technology, where we should be putting technology in the service of our customers, putting technology in the service of these human needs. And that's where the future has to go, or we're going to fail, because the power is with the consumers now. We'll never be able to catch up with them unless we do it their way. We don't own the sales funnel. They do. Most companies don't understand that.
Wow. If I had an audience here, I would ask everyone for a round of applause. I mean, every time it's like a full-on lecture with you, man. So I just want to wrap this conversation, right? And before I wrap it up, is there one key message you want to leave, not only for the students, because I want more people to watch this. I mean, what do you say all the time is spot on. What is the one key message that you want to leave, or you can leave, so before we wrap this conversation?
Well, the way I end most of my university classes and speeches is passing along some advice I received from a very well-known American academic and author, a guy named Robert Cialdini. He wrote some of the most important books about power in the workplace and influence in the workplace. And I got to interview him a few years ago when I wrote that Return on Influence book. And I said, Dr. Cialdini, in this really noisy, crazy world, what do people do and what do companies do to stand out? And he said 3 words that were so profound, and I think they're more important than ever. He said, be more human. And that's how I end most talks. And I think the most human company will win. And we have to look at every touch point, every interaction, every engagement, every phone call, every email, and think, how can we be more human? How can we show our heart? How can we show our faces? Let people hear our voices, see what we stand for. And those are the companies that will win.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mark. So before we go, where can people find out more about you? Should they read your blog? What do you want people to go to get to know Mark?
Well, it's easy to find everything about me. I'm at businessesgrow.com because no one can remember how to spell Schaefer, but it's pretty easy to remember Businesses Grow. And I've got my blog there, my podcast, lots of cool free resources people can use, and of course, my book. So thank you so much for your great questions today.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great day. Bye-bye.